Welcome to Carrickfergus Vineyard, a place of hope where lives are changing. We're a church in the heart of Carrickfergus, passionate about seeing people's lives changed by the love of Jesus. The following message was given at one of our Sunday services.
Okay, so those of you who know me well, you'll know that me wearing this jumper, apart from the Liverpool bit of it, is actually suffering for the gospel. What is it? Oh yes, sure. Sorry, Alan. I thought in with the Christmas spirit and all that, and now that I've got a reputation of Party Paul to keep, I figured I may as well kind of just dive in, 2 feet and wear the jumper, which was actually donated to me by Gary. That's Sergi, in case you're wondering who Gary is, who's not even here. And I thought I'd wear this morning, and I kind of thought it would just be a visual illustration. I'd take it off, and even to the point where I actually ironed my T-shirt underneath it. But it's actually quite nippy in the room, so I'm actually sort of keeping it on. And you'll see the reason why I'm wearing it as time goes by. But anyway, we're week 3 of this series that we started called The Invitation. And picture me as a 17-year-old. I'm on the bus Saturday morning. We just played football for the first 11 for our school against another school north of London somewhere. I can't even remember where it was, but I do remember vividly sitting beside a lad in the year below me. His name was Martin, and he was kind of quite a shy lad, and he kind of kept himself to himself. He wore a little cross on a necklace, and he was a brilliant, talented footballer. And I ended up just being sat beside him, and we just got chatting. And I had become a Christian about 6 months before, but I was still kind of in the old ways of living, the old ways, And I kind of dipped my toe in the water. I started going to church. I'd been going to a traditional church, literally around the corner from where I live. Beautiful old English kind of Church of England church, made of kind of stone and flint and all the rest, the 4 weddings and a funeral kind of church. And I went on the evenings, and I was the only young person there. I didn't have any friends, and here I was sat beside this guy, and we got chatting. And I said, "Oh, you go to that church, don't you, in that place called Chorley Wood, which is actually where I went to school?" I said, "I hear loads of stuff goes on there. It had a reputation, mainly good, of one that stuff was happening." I thought, flip, I'm young. I want to go somewhere that's happening, not where people die and are buried. Sorry, that's a bit harsh. It's not in the notes. But I wanted to go where there's life. And so actually through this conversation with my friend Martin, he said, "Why don't you come with me to my church?" And I was like, great. Along came. Wow. I feel special. You've invited me to your church. That's wonderful. Here we baptized 3 individuals, and they're there on the screen. And there's Karen in the top right-hand corner being baptized by myself and Chantel. And Karen's journey was made up of lots of different touch points and pathways towards her faith in Jesus. But in particular, if you were here and you remember, she shared the story how a lady called Jackie Robb, who works for Christians Against Poverty, she had played such an important, instrumental role in bringing her to faith in Jesus. And then on the bottom right there, we have Harriet being baptized by her mum and Emma there in the water. And she stood and she shared here. Again, lots of different touch points and moments of coming to faith in Jesus. But in particular, she mentioned our hope here. About what a significant friendship that was, and bringing her to church and what have you. And then we have Vicky there being baptized by Chantel and Philippa. And she stood here and she shared with us all how her friendship through her work colleague, Philippa, how she had been so impactful in her life and bringing her again to faith in Jesus and towards us as a church community. And I'm hoping anyway, you'll see where I'm going with this. It's all these stories represent how important an individual was or were to coming to faith and coming to a community of believers. This is week 3 of our series on the invitation. And 2 weeks ago, I introduced the theme saying that Jesus was incredibly invitational. He invited his followers, we're going to look at some of them this morning, into relationship with him. And he invited them and said, hey, come and follow me. Jesus invited his disciples to rest in him, to drink from him. And Jesus invited his followers to take up their cross. And then last week, if you were here, you will have seen Rhoda, who had come from that wonderful organization called Hope for Every Home Ireland. And she spoke about the importance of the invited to invite others to the party, to where there is life. And she used the phrase, and I'm going to quote it. She said, perhaps this is just the kick up the bum that some of us needed. And I felt challenged. I'm sure many of you did, in terms of, gosh, what an opportunity, what a role and responsibility that those who are already invited, those who are already included, would go out of our way to invite others. And so let's take a look at the Bible. Let's read a couple of stories of how this happened, how this unfolds. We're in John's Gospel, we're chapter 1, 35, 39. The next day, John was there again. Now, John is John the Baptist. John, who's Jesus' cousin, who is born 6 months earlier, whose role in life was to prepare the way for Jesus. And he went out and did all what he did. John was there again with 2 of his disciples. So John, he also had disciples. He had followers too. When he saw Jesus passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." When the 2 disciples, his own, heard him say this, they followed Jesus. Turning round, Jesus saw them following and asked, "What do you want?" They said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" Come, he replied, "and you will see." So they went and they saw where he was staying, and they spent the day with him. It was about 4 p.m. Now, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of the 2 who heard what John had said and who had followed Jesus. So of the 2 disciples, John's disciples, stay with us. One of them is Andrew, who's Simon Peter's brother, and he was one of them. But this is the point I want to camp on. The first thing that Andrew did was to find his brother Simon Peter and tell him, "We have found the Messiah, that is the Christ." And he brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You'll be called Cephas," which when translated means Peter. So, the next day, the day after this, Jesus decides to leave for Galilee. Finding Philip this time, he said to him, "Follow me." Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. Philip found Nathanael and told him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." "Nazareth? Can anything good come from there?" Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. When Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here truly is an Israelite, in whom there is no deceit." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree, before Philip called you." Then Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Jesus said, "You believe because I told you I saw you under the fig tree? You will see greater things than that." He then added, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels of God ascending and descending on the Son of Man." Just want to spend just a few minutes just looking at those 2 passages. What did they do? What did Andrew do? And what did Philip do? Well, first of all, the first thing that Andrew did was go find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah, that is the Christ." and he brings him to Jesus. The very next day, Philip, he finds Nathanael, who's a friend of his, and says to him, "We have found the one Moses wrote about in the law, about whom the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth. Come and see." Andrew tells Peter, Philip tells Nathanael. Andrew literally brings Peter to Jesus. Philip invites Nathanael to come and see. In both these stories, we literally see how an individual has brought someone, has physically invited someone towards the coming Christ. Last week, a number of different stats and things from a survey which was taken. And I wanted to just highlight a couple of slides to us. And I wasn't sure you're going to be able to see that. That was my own mistake as a teacher to all of us here. That's actually no good whatsoever. Let me just explain, because I can see it here. The question on this is, how do people come to follow Jesus for themselves? And there are a number of them here, and I'm just going to read some of them. The main reason how people come to follow Jesus is growing up in a Christian family. But others, which are high, are attending a physical church service, by attending Sunday school, conversations with Christians who knew well. Maybe it was a particular life event, whether it was a positive life event or negative. Responding to the gospel at a Christian event, attending a church school, visiting church buildings, conversations with Christians. You can see there, or you can hear there, not necessarily see there, how important the connection with a person who is already a believer is. A reminder of some of the things that Rhoda shared with us last week. First of all, of the survey that was taken, I couldn't quite get my head around this one, but 100% of people said that Christians were friendly. Isn't that amazing? Two questions that people most wanted to know from a Christian were, what happens when we die? And will everything be okay? She said that we, the church, are well positioned to answer and address these questions. She said that of the people that had had a conversation with a Christian, that 60% of people were left wanting to know more. And this bit I find staggering, is that 62% of people were open to an experience or an encounter with Jesus. This should fill us with encouragement. This should fill us with faith. This past week, on the Wednesday, I was in Carrickfergus Grammar School. It was my second week there. I'm doing a little bit of work in there also, as well as being in this wonderful school. And it just so happened that it was SU. SU's on a Wednesday. And so I went along to SU. It was my second week there. And in this classroom, it's a classroom. It is packed. Over 60 teenagers are in this room. And I said to the teacher who's in charge, I said, is this the normal number? Is this what you normally get? And he said, well, compared to last year, no. We've got loads more coming. I said, why do you think that is? And he genuinely said, not the cliche answer, he genuinely said, I think it must be God. And I was like, gosh, wow. And he said, yeah, he estimated probably 40% the people who are coming to it have any church connection at all. This is their church. I was utterly staggered by this. Folks, if you know me well, I'm more half empty than half full. And I usually err on the side of caution, not on optimism. But God is doing something. He's at work. He's at work. And he's inviting us to invite. He's given us the message of hope. He's given us, the answers to people's whatevers. It's not the answer that, it's going to be this, this, and this. The answer And what we all need and all we desire is Jesus. It's the person of Jesus. The next slide, I hope you can see this one. Oh, look at that. Should have done the same with the first one. With those folks who have conversations with Christians, what do they remember? They invited me to a church service. They invited me to attend a church event, which was not a service. They offered to pray for me. They shared a personal story about faith. They invited me to attend an Alpha course. They invited me to attend a different course. And so on and so on. Guys, what an opportunity we have. The invitation. But it requires us to do the inviting. It requires us to kind of go out of our way to say, hey, would you like to come? Like Andrew does to Peter, like Philip does to Nathaniel. It requires us to go out of our way. A couple of things. Firstly, what compelled Andrew and what compelled Philip to go to the people that they went to? And I'm going to speed up here because time is running out. Well, the first one is dead easy. And Andrew invites Peter simply because he's his brother. Because he's his brother. It's family connection. I've skipped a whole slide here. We'll go to question 3. Can we, Tom? Why did they invite the people? They invited, first of all, because Andrew and Peter were brothers and sisters. And we go to our nearest and our dearest. But I want to just spend a couple of minutes looking at the interesting conversation that Philip and Nathaniel have. When we see and we read those lines about Jesus saying, I saw you under the fig tree, what does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know if that's you, but whenever I read the Bible, there are some things, they're really obvious. It's this, but then there's lots of stuff we read, don't we? And we're like, what does that mean? What does Jesus actually mean by I saw you under the fig tree? And the answer, truthfully, is we don't actually know for sure. Google it. And you can read lots and lots of different things. Was it literal? Did Jesus literally see Nathanael? Did he pay attention and notice him under the fig tree? Did that literally happen? Did that not? Regardless of whether he did or he didn't, I think we are sure and we can understand a few things about the importance of the fig tree. You see, figs were a representation, a symbolic gesture of the people of Israel. If you know your scriptures well, you'll know that just before the cross, Jesus saw a fig tree. What did he do to it? He cursed it and said there'll be no fruit will grow from this tree again. And we read things and those kind of stories were like, gosh, that seems very uncharacteristic for the Son of God to do that. That's pretty destructive. But actually there was symbolic meaning. You see, the fig tree represented the people of Israel, the nation, and the Pharisees who were the teachers. They were the ones who were meant to be leading the people of Israel into fruitfulness. And they were the very ones that weren't doing that. And Jesus symbolically curses the tree as a representation saying, you should have been leading, should have been drawing my people into fruitfulness. But that has not happened. And this is a symbolic gesture. And so there's something profound and symbolic about the fig tree. You can read more if you'd like to in Micah 4, Zechariah 3, or 1 Kings 4. But it seems to usher in the longing for Messiah to come. And there was something about Nathanael. There was something in him as a person that was open and was exploring and probably prayerful for Messiah to come. And Jesus knew this. Jesus had insight into him that he was one who was longing for Messiah to come. Our friend Steve Nicholson, he uses this analogy when it comes to seeing where people are open to faith. We read that Nathanael was open to faith. And I've put this image here of someone fishing. Anyone like fishing here? Well, half a person. Okay, good. Brian is leading the fishing group, which will be starting. I don't know much about fishing either. but I know that you can fishing of if you want to catch something to where there might be some fish. Steve uses this analogy, going to places, going to people that might be open. And so some questions. Who do I know who is in need right now? Who in my life is open? Who might be responsive to the gospel, the good news message? Who is God drawing closer to me in my life? Who am I naturally being drawn to right now? Being attentive to the surroundings and the places that God would have us. Listening to the nudges and the promptings of the Holy Spirit. Where and who are those people? Let's go fishing there. What is the Father up to? I shared just a few moments ago about school here in Carrickfergus, where God is at work. Where is he at work? Paying attention, going there, being present, being attentive, being open to those nudges. Folks, we have a number of different events in the life of our church coming up, and we want to show you what they are. They're up there. They'll be all over our social media stuff, I'm sure. And we wanted to just take a couple of minutes just to take us through some of those. Go for it.
Can I say something else first?
Yeah, please. Do you want to use this one? It's probably better.
I was just struck when we were watching those videos, like when Andrew, when he speaks to Peter, like his first reaction isn't, yeah, right, okay, let's go. His first reaction is, my business is failing, there's an ill person in my house, you know. And then the other one, his first reaction wasn't, right, okay, let's go. His first reaction was, what, Nazareth? Nothing good comes from there. And I just wonder for some of us, you know, have we maybe shared our faith? I just wanted to say, don't be discouraged if the person's first reaction isn't right. Okay, where do I sign up? You know, because people have stuff going on and it's hard for them. But, like, I just feel like what Paul said, like, God is working. And I feel we can kind of go down the road of, oh, it's just the younger ones. It's not just the younger ones. You know, God is, I feel he's moving powerfully in the teens and young adults. Like the things I'm reading about Cause in Nottingham this weekend, like I can't wait till Owen and him back and tell us. Like it sounds unbelievable. But my mum has a friend whose husband has just had a really big operation, and like I've been saying to my mum, I'm praying for him. And I bumped into his wife in the shop the other day, and I was able to say it to her, like, I'm praying for him. And she said to me, before I even said that, she said, I know loads of people are praying. Like, I think we just need to don't despise the small things. Like, just, God is moving, and I just want all of us to be part of it. And you know, it can be just one small thing, one small invitation, one small, what seems to be an insignificant conversation, but God is doing amazing things. So anyway, that was just what I was thinking there. But these things are coming up in the life of our church, and a lot of people put a lot of work into these things, and it's not just so we can have a nice church event, it's so we can invite people along. So like we're having our Reach Women's Night. I think there's only about 12 spaces left. I've got women in my life, friends who don't come to church, and every single time I invite them, and loads of times I get disappointed because they're not able to come, but I'm going to be a pest. I'm not going to stop inviting them. And, you know, sometimes they do come and they really love it. So, ladies, who can you be inviting to that? We've got our Tots Christmas party coming up. And, like, sometimes I think not loads of people come every week, but, like, we're starting to get to know them and have these really cool conversations with the young mums and the childminders. And I just think I want us to be a consistent presence in our town, that they know they can come and be welcomed, and we're going to have fun with them at Christmas.
Yeah, great. And We have carols at Oni's on the 5th of December, Thursday evening. We done this a number of times. It used to be that traditional hog roast that you'd have at Christmas time. That's a joke. Out the back of Oni's. But truthfully, it just got too expensive. So we're having a slightly cheaper kind of food option. We're trying to keep it in around 10 quid, something like that. But again, it's going to be outside. There'll be gas heaters, canapé. We're going to do some carols, which are going to be played. You can join in or you don't have to join in. It's not like a stand-up. It's not a service. It's a fun social where we come, we eat, we have drink, whatever you'd like to. But it's a brilliant invitational event. A brilliant way of those. They might not necessarily come to a church service, but they might go to the pub at Christmas time. We want to give those kind of opportunities. And so that's one that's coming up.
On the 8th of December, on Sunday morning, we're having church here, but it's not going to look like this. We're going to have breakfast with Santa. And we had our light party just recently, and we haven't, because of COVID and different things, we haven't necessarily done massive events like that, loads, but it was just amazing to welcome over 100 kids, some from our church, but loads we don't know from our local community, and we're going to do it again with Breakfast with Santa, and I really need all of your help, because I've got Marty in my planning team, and his ideas are like off the charts. Gillian, Marty, and Jenny, and Steph, I have to rein them in. But people are going to come in here and we're going to have a story time where we share the Christmas story. We're going to have a photo booth. They're going to go round the back here. There's going to be Santa's grotto at the back. They're going to meet Santa. And then they're going to come in here. They're going to be able to hear Sharon's amazing choir. We're going to intersperse that with Christmas karaoke. They can get face paints. They can get food. So honestly, I just feel like we get to be church together as a team, but we get to be church for our community on that day. People who might not necessarily come here yet, but we get to welcome them in. And there's some families in our community who can't afford the expensive garden centre Santa things. So let's, be church together and welcome them. And can you please come and talk to me afterwards so I don't wake up at 5 a.m. freaking out about who's going to cut the melon and who's going to paint the faces. I need help. So it's all of us together. We're going to have a sensory room and a prayer room. We're going to, like we did before, we're going to be praying the whole way through. All of you have a part to play. So don't worry if you can't do face paints or everyone will have a part to play. So I just feel really excited. We've already got loads of people signed up for that. And then the week after, we're going to have our church service here, but it's our family gathering. Laura and the team are already planning for that. And we're going to give out, we've got these flyers that we want you to take and invite to any families with Breakfast with Santa. And on the back, we have our Christmas family gathering. Like, how amazing would it be if loads of those families who came to Breakfast with Santa came here the next week and just were part of our church family and the fun we have in the family gathering. So yeah, it's just a wonderful opportunity to be team and invite.
Great, sorry. And then just the last couple. One is for our young people, where they have a movie night down in our venue, down in the town centre. Great opportunity for them to invite their friends along to that. And then before we completely kill ourselves and have a rest at Christmas time, we are going to have our annual Christmas carol service in here, 7 o'clock on the 22nd of December. And those of you who've been part of our church for a while or even just recently, you'll know it's such a big event in here. We make it look amazing. There's a lot of effort goes into the music and the communication and what have you. It's a shorter service as well. And folks, it's if you want to get someone, that's wrong. If you want to invite someone to church, that and our Sunday morning gathering the week before are the best opportunities of the entire year to invite people to. They are more likely to say yes and come to that than any other service, because it's Christmas time. And they are really good. It is not, it's not going to be hellfire and brimstone stuff. We're communicating love and grace and hope and all of that side of the gospel message. But we need you to partner with us in the invitation. And so right now, as we end our service, we've already gone over time. I would like you, we're going to put just a bit of music, Nathan, if that's possible. Can you do that? Just through. I would like you to take out your phones or notepad. And I'd like you right now, this is our ministry time, is who you're inviting. Look at the list there. What are you going to go to? Or what do you think, actually, the Oni's thing, it wouldn't necessarily be my cup of tea, but I've got a mate who might go to that. So actually, I'm going to invite them to come. And do you know what? I'm going to pay for their ticket as well. The Sunday morning gathering, do you know what? There's this new family. They've moved in down the street. Maybe I'll take one of these flyers that we've knocked up and stick it through their door. So for a couple of minutes, by yourself, write down the names of people. And then we'll pray. This is the invitation. We're not just going to talk about it. We're not just going to read stories from the Bible about it. But we're actually going to do it.
Thanks for listening to the Carrickfergus Vineyard podcast. If you'd like to find out more about our church, please visit our website at carrickfergusvineyard.org.